Yeah, awesome. Good to see
So,
you, Vilma. Vilma is connected to us from the United States. She kindly agreed. It's very late or very early morning
very early,
for her.
it's not late, yes.
Yes, and I just would say that Vilma is a great entrepreneur who has a lot of expertise in many areas, including health tech, for example, and she is a very knowledgeable person in fundraising. She's being a mentor at tons of different startup sessions, and she can give you recommendations, a lot of recommendations about how to enter the United States market, for example. She's been recently a mentor at IT Park at Uzbekistan, and it was posted on Forbes about her mentorship and connecting with startups, which is great. And she's helping our community as a leader in the United States. I'm super excited to have you, Vilma, here. And please introduce yourself. Today we want to speak about how to enter the United States and hear from you some insights and recommendations about that. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Daniel. So the first question, actually, who gonna run the slides? So it's technical question, me or
usually, I mean, you can do it, but if you need help with that, I'm happy to help.
you can do if you want, because it's gonna be from one source, so I'm fine. So it's my pleasure to be here. It's really interesting, let's say, people I met in Russia, in Uzbekistan, in Kazakhstan. And for me, it's very great to know how many young people with good ideas, with very good understanding how technology is working, and with good, big ambitions to penetrate different markets. So for me, it's really a big deal and great pleasure to be here on this conference. I have 20 years of experience. So at 1998, I came to United States, and I became developer. So basically my career in United States started as a software developer. After 7 years, I moved back to Europe, where I'm from originally. I'm from Lithuania. And I became like a managing director of a big company from United States, basically CSC. I helped them to open offshore office in Lithuania. And in 2010, I moved back to United States in Maryland, next to Washington, DC. So, I opened with my partners and established the first startup. So it was really big and a long journey for me, because we just had exit before COVID with our startup. So I know startup inside out, how to do that, how to manage that, how to get funds, how to work with teams, and so on and so on. So nowadays, I'm a member of a dental advisory group of Go Global World Startup Community and many other communities. And I'm very proud to be part of this community. So this is probably short introduction, and we can jump on the slides and review what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, just a few more seconds. The slides are being downloaded because I haven't downloaded them in advance.
Okay.
So
No problem. No problem.
My connection is slow.
So I can I can talk a little bit what it was startup all about. So 2010, it was like really new market. Not many companies knew how to run startup from A to Z. We just knew that we want to have a company. We knew that we have what we want to do, because one of our like partners, he actually found us, me and my husband, who is solution architect, basically the technical person who can put ideas into technical solutions. So medical doctor contacted us and asked to help him to develop electronic medical records. So at that time, we knew that it's going to be a huge project, and we didn't know how to approach. So we said that we're going to approach with little things. So basically, we're going to start with MVP, which means prototype. That's basically the proof that you can do what you are, telling that you can do. So basically, at that point, what we did differently, what it was on the market already, that we put voice over what the doctor is telling to his device, basically phone, or it was Android or iPhone, it doesn't matter. And we converted that into the text and put into electronic medical record. So basically, doctor, instead of typing, he was talking, and all his messages we converted into the text, but not just like text, but it was medical terminations, basically. So that's what it was, and we were very successful. We were the first who did that, and that's how we started our journey. So today we're going to talk about startup businesses in the US market. So let's move to the next slide. So what is the startup business? And I can see that you have like some like weird things on your it's like it should be very well visible characters and text, but I can see that it's barely seen. So if you can, please reload or try again. Just run like this. Probably it's gonna be easier. So what is the startup business, right? So basically, this is the entrepreneurial ventures. Usually it's like single or handful of founders. And most of the time, they have like on the team the person who knows the market. So in our case, it was electronic medical record, and we had medical doctor. So we used all his knowledge. It was a young guy who just graduated medical university and knew what he wants to do and what is missing on the market. Early stages or its development. So basically, it's small teams, limited budget, no office, lean management, and until we're gonna prototype or create the MVP. So basically, developers we need, right? So it's gonna be developers. The business perceives a market demand. So basically, a successful focus on filling demand or gap, which is on the market. If no demand, difficult gonna be penetrate the market, right? Also, competition is very aggressive everywhere. So you really need to understand if market needs what you are creating, what you are developing, what you are trying to accomplish. Develops a viable product, service, or platform for the demand. So market analysis and feasible studies are very like key success basically of your story and your product. So you really need to spend time to understand if market needs what you're gonna develop. Next slide, please. So entrepreneurship in the US. So we're gonna talk about entrepreneurship and its role on US market. Let's move to the next one. Number of businesses less than 1 year old, greater than 650,000. So this number is steadily growing each year. That means that each year in the United States, we have this number of the new companies. We can see boom in a new startup businesses since after economy recovered in the US at 2010. After recession, the US economy saw great investment into startup businesses. Exact number of new businesses depend on industry within the market. Typically, we can see significant increase in healthcare, consumer products like food, and consumer products like booking, for example, hotels and Airbnbs, that kind of like a market. So the increase is greater than 5% each year. Jobs created by businesses is growing consistently since 2010. So startups creates creates basically jobs. What we can see lately in United States that we're all the time short on IT, basically developers. That's why a lot of companies are outsourcing. That's why you can feel that, let's say, Eastern Europe, Asia, like receives lately a lot of offers, and a lot of companies want to move to these countries because we are experiencing shortage in these kind of resources within the United States. So jobs created by these businesses has grown consistently since 2010, which means that when we started these startups and people understood how to run the startup, not just like, how we were beginners, for example. We were one of the first who actually started that kind of business, who understood how to collect money and how to get finance. We understood that this is going to be a big thing and different what we were doing before. And this was new, not only for us, but it was new for our founders, like other founders as well. So we had our journey to learn how to make a startup to successful company. Why it's United States? Because there is a large customers and consumers base, both B2B and B2C. USA is probably the highest consumer market in the world. At the same time, USA is the biggest technology market in the world. So as you know, like B2C, the startups grew up like DoorDash, Uber, Airbnb. Some examples of B2B I can talk about. So this is healthcare records exchange hubs, artificial intelligence technologies in radiology, automation of processes, cloud computing, and so on. So it's really big opportunities, and you need to understand what market is looking for and what you're going to try to develop. Large pool of investors within the USA market. More than 150 billions invested in startups in 2019. So basically before COVID. There are different kinds of investments. Family and friends. So that means that people who you know, seed angel investors, grants from government, venture capitals. So it's like different opportunities you can find in United States in regards of investors. And considerably short time to seed investment. So basically, it depends on what you are trying to develop and what kind of amount you are looking for. It's much easier to find these investors in early stage with high risk rather than, for example, in Europe, right? So USA is more flexible. They understand how to invest, and they are open for high risk. Next slide, please. Why to choose USA, for example, not Europe? We're going to talk about the differences in the last slide, but why to choose US? And I can see that more and more entrepreneurs and startups are looking into USA, even if it's like Asia or it's Europe. everybody wants to penetrate USA market, and there is why. As a business grows with sales, cost centers within business see positive, profitable position within operations. In the USA, demand is very changing. To remain compatible, business tackle vertical and horizontal extensions. USA advantages. Vertical, you have large pool of client base and need niche market subsegment to target. Horizontal, create customized solution for each need or subsegment. So basically, you have opportunity to grow horizontal and vertical. It depends what kind of marketing strategy you are choosing. High success rate of startups. 40% of startups are profitable within with an additional 30% breaking even. So which is showing a very high success rate. Growth because of large consumer and B2B market. So basically, you have big opportunities here within United States. You can open your company within 6 days. So it's in Delaware, we have a very special, let's say, process where everybody is using Delaware corporations, and it takes 6 days for you to open that company and few days to open account. That's it. You're good to go with what you're gonna receive. Diverse funding options. Venture capitalist firms invested greater than $150 billion per year. So this is just venture capitals. And think about the other ones, angel seeds and family and friends and the different kind of options. There are even like platforms on the internet where you can gather your finance basically and ask for the finance in these kind of platforms, and people are just giving money for the great idea. So I really didn't see anywhere in the world things like what's happening here in the United States. So, and the largest market in the world for technology companies, which we were talking about, including B2B, software services, healthcare, consumer goods, and media, financial markets. So next slide, please. Risks within the USA startup market. So of course we have risks. It's not so smooth everything, and we have some risks, and we need to think about them before we are opening company and starting our startup in United States. So it's high startup cost depending on the industry. Of course, I can talk more about healthcare because I've been there, done that. So it's a lot of licenses, a lot of certifications, a lot of like certifications, not only as a company but as a product. You need to prove that your product is safe to use in the United States. So it takes money, it takes time just to get through approval processes and to for getting these licenses. So high payroll costs. So basically, we talk about the shortages of the developers, for example, in the United States. And even if you're gonna find them, it's really high salaries. So just, I know that a lot of people are from School of Economics, so we're counting money, we are counting like numbers. So just very low, let's say, salary for IT, like developer, software developer, is $100 per hour. So this is if you're gonna, pay hourly. And for example, if you need advisory for your startup, it's like around 200. So it's a really different kind of salaries here. And it's like I said, we have some shortages in some fields. and highly competitive environment. So a lot of companies are coming to United States to penetrate this market. It's not only let's say US companies, but it's of course US companies national-wide, and worldwide. The big companies, like they have already the market, they have the finance to penetrate the market much better than what startup can afford. And large pool of entrepreneurs. So because it's very easy and government supports entrepreneurs within the United States, of course, they have much better position to start their business here, being locally than, for example, some international company, like some startup, let's say from Europe or Eastern Europe. So it's much more difficult to enter the market than to be local. Next slide, please. So USA vs European Union. Because I'm from Lithuania, I'm Lithuanian, so I know that European Union market very well. And I try to work with a lot of startups within the healthcare in European Union level. And I know what kind of issues they are facing, and what is different between US market and European market. So next slide, please. As you can see, the slide is crowded. So USA, as we talk about, its larger customer base, right? Larger investor base, higher funding required as well, because it's much bigger competition, greater chance for extension and growth. So if you gonna penetrate market and enter market the right way, with all your studies, with all marketing studies, you're gonna be targeting the correct customers. Of course, your extension and growth gonna be much faster, because here is like much more opportunities and more companies, and everything is just bigger, right? Considerably larger continental startup hubs, like Silicon Valley, like East Coast mega cities. So it's nowadays, it's not only Silicon Valley, which is like known for startup hub, but it's like New York, Houston, Washington, Los Angeles, you can name it. It's probably every large city has the hub where they are helping startups to grow, and helping with offices. They are providing, like cities providing help for these kind of companies, because through like since 2010, it was already visible that Silicon Valley did the right thing, and a lot of companies grew because of their help. So now each city understands, even small cities, I can tell you that they understand the need of startups in their region, because who knows, maybe that's gonna be breakthrough technologies, and we're gonna just win from that. So everybody wants to invest, like in these kind of new technologies, but not everybody understands technologies. In my experience, I met a lot of investors who has like willing to invest into IT, but they don't understand the market. So sometimes it's difficult to explain what you are looking for and what is like gonna be benefits for that person to invest in your, for example, product. But still, people are investing, and they want, and this is very like attractive in United States, to get investment from easy, like we are calling easy money. Large market penetration needed to remain competitive. So like we were talking before, it's a big competition. It's big companies, like big companies, they are all the time looking and exploring the market, what's going on the market, looking for the startups, early stage, late stage, because they understand that startup is like it's gonna develop what they need much faster rather than they gonna develop something within the company. So what we can see that big companies are acquiring startups, and they want these kind of products to belong to big companies. So it's sometimes very difficult to stay like independent company if you want to remain like startup and then independent companies. So most of the times big companies acquiring smaller companies. More focus on sales, because US, it's all about sales. It's all about how much you're gonna have, like what kind of profit you're gonna have with your product, with your services. So and this is actually the difference from European Union, because in European Union, majority of investors, they are looking for the proof of concept, for the quality of the product. They are concentrating on the product itself more than on sales, because they know that that's gonna be like sold if that's gonna be a good product. Let's say I can talk about healthcare, and I'm gonna talk about that when I'm gonna touch European part. So consistent growth required in single large market. So of course, US, it's like one country. Even if it has different states, you can, sometimes we're looking at that like little countries, but it's still one country. And you have the same kind of laws in all states. It's like if you have certification that your system is working in United States, it's approved to work in United States, that means that you are good to go to any state. It's going to be New Jersey, Montana, or Florida. So it doesn't matter. Where Europe, it's like every few hundred kilometers, you're going to have different country, different certifications, different government, different laws. So that's where your startup will spend money and time just to get things done in that local market. So what I'm offering and advising startups which I'm working with, that European market you can use as a sandbox, as a proof of concept, and then move to something bigger. And of course, it's United States. So let's move to Europe. So Europe is, of course, smaller customer base, but it's more stable investor base. So like I said, if investor decide to invest into your product in European Union, that that investor will guide you, help you to be successful. So for that person, it's really for that investor, a company or person, it's really important that your product will be successful, and they're gonna put all their network and everything to help you be successful. Smaller pool of hubs actually for the startups. It's London, Berlin. Now I can see that a lot of Eastern European countries trying to create startup hubs, but for them it's like something new. So what I can see, the same situation we had like 2010 in United States, what we have right now in European Union, Eastern European Union, let's say, because Poland, Estonia, Latvia, they are trying to create these kind of startup pools, but I can see that mentality of entrepreneurship, it's still new in these countries. Funding, strong accessible funding options. More or less funding is going through the European Union funds and grants. So they have criteria, like strong criteria, and strong, let's say, rules how to apply for these grants. So you need to spend a lot of time just to apply for the grant the right way, which in United States it's much easier. What is I'm not going to read all these items because you can read yourself, but what I'm going to talk about, for example, from my experience. So we were electronic medical record company. So what we touched, it was very sensible information, right? People and their like illness, like whatever diagnosis they have. And as you know, this is very private information. So you need to prove that your databases, let's say, and records you have, that they are very secure and very safe. Because in United States, you are paying just $10,000 for one record. If somebody, for example, gonna, I don't know, steal that record from your database and it's gonna be proved. So you can imagine if a clinic has like 10,000 patients, multiplied by 10,000. So if that's gonna happen, you can close that company immediately because you're going to be bankrupt, and you're gonna have a lot of issues. Well, so this is US. Europe, on the same page. They have, like, each country, they have different kind of rules. If you're gonna go to Germany, Germany is not allowing any of the personal data to leave Germany. So if you want to work with German patients, like, for example, test your software or something to do, you need to sit in Germany. You cannot even do that outside of Germany. If we're gonna want to know a more complicated situation, Switzerland, so they have different cantons. So these people from different cantons, we cannot access each other records. So it's like more and more complicated in within Europe. So that's why it's an European government, actually, each government is regulating their own patient records. So it's more and more complicated, for example, to penetrate European market rather than the USA market. And I'm just talking from one perspective, like healthcare records. But if you're gonna look at other markets, it's almost the same. Food, it's different rules. Quality standards is different rules. So it's you need to think when you are trying to enter European market. And my advice to everybody, if you have startup, use one country in Europe just as a sandbox and go to USA, because it's going to be much easier to enter that market. I think that's all for today. Thank you for your attention.
That's amazing. Great talk. We appreciate such a detailed comparison with Europe and United States. My first question would be about, I mean, let's get straight to the point, right? Tell me more about real fuck ups, or like real startup mistakes that people usually do when they form companies. And from a legal standpoint, like let's look at like forming a company, like what type of structure to choose, like what entity, like would be LLC, C Corp if you're talking about the United States, and why. What about European? And also, if you would compare this with between Europe and the USA, the equity. Yeah, I forgot about that word. Like equity agreements, stock option agreements, right? Probably bylaws and all those typical the typical mistakes people usually do, in your opinion, and what they should avoid. All these legal errors they usually have.
You know, it's like we can talk and talk, and I can tell you even what mistakes we make. So, for example, company is not a big deal because you have a lot of advisories, right? You can find in United States. Nowadays, it's like everywhere, I can tell you. So they telling and advising you what kind of company to open. Everybody, like I said, going to Delaware C Corp, and you know, they are and actually opening these companies like for the product, right? So it's very important actual thing to know that you need to, if you have, for example, two different products, right? It's better to open two different companies, not one company, because you're gonna ask one, investors invest in one company and another investor invest in another company. If you're gonna have one company, you're gonna mix them and you're gonna be in trouble very soon, because one investor will invest in one product and another investor will invest in other product, and then you don't know what kind of at the end you're not gonna have any stocks options for yourself, because you're gonna just give your shares to somebody else. So what I'm advising all the time, if you have multiple products, open multiple companies. That will be much easier for you to understand and to give the shares to investors, and to you're gonna have larger pool of stocks basically. And it's like a big and like lengthy thing when you're going through reevaluation. They are again creating new stocks. So it's like it's never ending process, I think, and financial people know much better how to make that happen. For me, for example, it was when the first time I heard that our company is like worth $3 billion. I remember after 5 years, I was thinking, what is that? It's like, who told you that? And actually, it was your hiring company is like giving value, appraising your company from whatever you have. I don't know what kind of formulas they are using. And for me, it was like, okay, what is that all about? So basically, reevaluation, you are putting new value on your company, and you have different kind of shares, and these shares again becoming more expensive. So it's a game, basically financial game, which is very interesting, and for me still sometimes like a fairy tale. I'm looking at that. So in Europe, it's like they didn't know that before at all, how to do that. So it's like they were opening the same companies as, for example, you are new business person just opening company, and it was exactly the same, that you need to pay taxes immediately with not knowing even what you're gonna do, what kind of things you're gonna develop or create or something, and already that you're not gonna have sales for a couple of years, so you're just paying taxes. So basically in Europe it was very difficult to have these kind of companies for new like startup people, because nobody had, like a young person didn't have money to pay taxes immediately while he's or she's developing and preparing product for the market. So it's like nowadays I can see that Poland, like I said, I see that Poland is very aggressive in this kind of market. So Poland, Estonia, they are like nowadays giving you the option to create company like a startup, not pay taxes, but you still need to prove that this is the startup, that this is the thing what you just gonna develop, and you don't have even like funding to basically hire people for your startup. So Nowadays, yes, they are much better. They have these hubs, and hub is giving you basically certification that yes, you are one of the startups and you belong to this hub. And of course, the like government is allowing you to have like some, let's say, 2 years release on taxes. So nowadays is better, let's say. Where US, it's already like a normal thing, like everyday thing. You can just like establish that company and you're good to go. Nobody is asking you to pay anything until you're gonna have profit.
Thank you. Great question. We have a few more minutes before next speaker is joining us. Georg, you have a question to Vilma.
And just a quick. Yes, I have a question from the audience, a quick one. Where exactly should he incorporate his startup in US? Maybe a specific state?
I didn't get the question. You are like breaking up.
Where exactly should our listener incorporate his startup
Delaware.
in US? Is a specific
Delaware.
Specific state. He's asking
Delaware.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Everybody's doing Delaware. So it's like, that's the best.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Any more questions, Georg, you have?
No, I think it was nice. It was a nice talk. Thanks, Vilma, for sharing your experience.
It was my pleasure.
It's the pleasure is mine. The pleasure is ours also. So I hope we'll meet again on other events, and maybe you can share something about what new came up from your amazing startup.
Yeah, I have new startup again. So we're gonna meet and we're gonna talk about that. Okay.
Awesome.
Thank you very much.
So Vilma, before you go, thanks so much for your talk, and the practical advice is always appreciated. And please, if you don't mind, share this presentation on our global chats so community can connect with you as a speaker and learn more from you from this topic. And before you go, what would be your final closing statement, recommendations, or inspirational words for our audience and the students of legal management at High School of Economics?
Never give up. That's it. It's like you guys have everything. Brain, you have options, possibilities. So if you have any idea, if you want to do that and you feel good about it, this is what I'm gonna do. You just need help, and don't hesitate to ask for help. If you're gonna talk to 100 people, you know what, 2 of them will help you for sure. So it's like, just go and explore the world. This is my advice, because what is the problem with smart people? Smart people think that they don't know enough all the time, right? So it's like you are thinking like, oh, I don't know how I'm gonna do that. No, just go and ask for help. And if you need any advice, just connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm gonna be the one who gonna guide you, and if I don't know how to do that, how to make that happen, I will find the help for you. So never give up. That's my advice for everybody.
Thank you very much. That was Vilma Khmaladze from the United States. Vilma, have a great the rest of your night, or a nice start of your morning. Goodbye.
Okay. Goodbye.
Thanks.